Kid.
Hello and welcome to another isolation station. This is the 26th installment of our daily paint streams that I've been doing on Twitch and on YouTube every other day so that you can stay entertained, find some inspiration, and paint with me, Skari, your grateful host. We have been working on Drahzar and his Incubi. The Incubi, of course, a lot less work on them than Drahzar. I like starting with the key characters a lot of the times when I'm painting a set, simply because it keeps me inspired to kind of get the bodyguards to go with him. It also means I get to use the character earlier in the game, like when I'm going to an event or something, and I can just have the character ready to throw into one of my lists. So this is sort of like a tutorial. This is part 3, so if you missed part 1 and part 2, make sure you check them out on the YouTube channel in the hobby videos playlist as well. A huge shout out to all the Twitch community who's been hanging out with me, as well as all the YouTube. Leave a comment. Let me know if you're working on something and what you are working on, and we will paint together. So sit back, relax, and let's hashtag just put paint on. As you can see here on the model, I've started working on the highlights on the legs a little bit. So I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what we've done for this model so far before we get started. So if you want to copy this at home, you can by getting yourself your own paints and whatnot as well. So let's put Mr. Drahzar off to the side here and let's say, okay, what have we done with Drahzar? So the first thing we've done is we primed him Chaos Black, etc. Okay, then what we did is we have used skeleton bone for the Wraith Bone. So skeleton bone from Army Painter Paints for the Wraith Bone. Good morning, the War Mistress. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so that's the first paint. There's lots of paints that we've used so far. Then I've used Skaven Blight Dinge, and we did the base grey with Skaven Blight Dinge, a lot like I had some leftover paint from doing the Citadel Realms of Battle board, so that sort of made its way into the paint, but to do the base. And using the technique that I learned there, I used a little bit of Army Green from War Painter Paints and a Brown Fur from the Army Painter War Paints. As you can see here, it's just a little discoloration on the base here, nothing crazy, it's just a very minor use, just to give to break up the monotony of the gray on the base. Okay, what else have we used? We used a matte black from Army Painter to shore up all the spots that I missed when I was doing the priming. So under the model, under, you know, the shoulder pads and things, instead of spraying more primer onto the model, I was like watering down some black paint and just kind of covering the spots that I missed with the primer. Very important when you're doing a project as well, to not cake the detail in primer. Okay, so then I did all the little horns, like his horns and all the studs and all the little spikes in Rhinox hide. It's like a base color that we've been using for all these little spikes and stuff. As you can see here, the horns and whatnot, and the studs are in that dark brown color. Then we used XV88, one of my favorite colors of the entire GW range. And what have we done with that? We've done mostly all the straps. So as you can see here, the things that are holding up his little gems, the straps, his ankle braces, as well as things that hold like the tassels and whatnot. That's all going in that color as well. So that's XV88. Then all the gray bits we did with Uniform Gray from the War Painter Paints. Uniform Gray, so that's the light gray that you see here on that, as well as all the little sort of little things that are kind of off his armor and off his swords. We've done that in Uniform Gray, which is a light gray, mostly because it's a base color to go to a sort of like a white, essentially. Then we have Crusted Sore from the War Paints, Army Painter War Paints. Kind of cool. Shout out to the Army Painter for refurbishing their production to produce hand sanitizer. So congratulations to them. Oh, like, good on them. Thank you very much for the support during this pandemic. So Crusted Sore was all the red. So I've done sort of like the handle here. I've done all the gemstones in Crusted Sore red. And then I did these vines encrusted so red. So it's like a dark red. Okay, then the pink has all been done with Vallejo game color Warlord purple. Hello, More Security. Hello, TV Robbie. I am on at 11 a.m., which is what it is today. Warlord purple. And last but not least, to get the shade in between here for all the runes, I used Agrast Earthshade Gloss to give it a bit of a shiny finish to it, just like a shiny tone. Nothing crazy, but it just helps, and it's going to break up when I do like a Rakeland Flesh shade on the rest of it to give it like a reddish tone, which will kind of bring it all together. It's always good to use kind of like reds and stuff when you're doing blacks as well. Give it a darker connotation. Okay, fair enough. So what color are we going to use today? For the highlights, I am going to be using another Army Painter paint called Necromancer Cloak. It is a dark gray. And I've already started on some of these in terms of the legs and some of his other stuff. Good morning, Garbanzo Bean Donut. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. But let's begin, shall we? Of course, you can see what I'm listening to down on the little jukebox thingy. Of course, for PR purposes, and by PR I mean copyright purposes, I can't really have music on YouTube, sadly. Good morning, everybody. Alfarius used the Earth Shade yesterday. Wagwan, says Rograx. Hey, how's it going? Thank you, really appreciate it, you know. Hey, Tyler Hart, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's always good to shake. Now, something I learned from somebody in chat actually was like, when you have a drip pot like this, shake it up and down this way so you don't clog the tip, if at all possible. If you do this, it just kind of pushes the crappy stuff into the corner, but you do it like this, and it's better. So hopefully you learn from my mistakes, because that's how I learn. And then later today, if anybody watches this later today and you want to come in and say hi, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am playing my Raider concept list against Don Simmons, Chaos List, Derideo, Disco Lords, Obliterators list. So if you want to tune into that, it'll be on the Lord Marshall TV YouTube channel, which is really exciting as well. I heard that Vallejo employees roll their paint bottles to mix them. Roll them like this. Oh, that makes sense too. Hey, the Basement Collective, Kevin, what's going on? Oh man, haven't seen you guys in forever. I miss you guys so much. So nice of you to tune in. Thank you very much for coming to say hi. Really appreciate it. I'm sad that Shadow Whale. Thank you. Oh man, it's a lively chat today, which I'm really excited about. Okay, so let's get this in a comfortable spot for me. Let's get this camera down on me. Today, my shirt is representing Madhouse Wargaming Paint Studio, essentially. So make sure you check them out if you want some painting stuff done. Now it's a little awkward to get really close when I'm doing painting. Ah, crap! I need to water it down a little more. Whoops! It's a little too thick still. Good morning, Kyle. What's going on? Huge shout out as well to everybody who subscribed to Twitch recently. Thanks so much for the bits donations as well. And as well as liking, sharing, subscribing, clicking the notification button, and all that good stuff that goes with the general plug. Yes, I am an attention media whore. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Painted up this army this last weekend. Ooh, Kevin's showing off the goods right off the bat. What is Kevin showing? He is showing off probably some Age Sigmar stuff, maybe? Oh, nice. It's some, like, elves on horses and Pegasuses. I'm assuming that's war blades or something like that. Okay. Let's get down to Bjergnish. I think I put a little too much on there. But it's not designed to be, like, crazy. It's just I'm just doing the edge highlighting on a model like this is the thing that takes probably the longest, but it's the thing that makes the model really stand out when it's done properly. So I'm okay with spending a little bit extra time edge highlighting a great miniature like Drahzar, the Master of Blades. And this is just the first highlight. Then I have to go back and do it all over again with a secondary highlight, which is a lighter gray. But if you have a project you'd like to share, please do. Put it up on the Instagram, share it with me on Twitter. You can always do that. I love looking at really cool, inspiring miniatures and models that are being worked on. It's crazy how just a little bit of edge highlighting just brings the model to life. I love it. Plastic Zveda DGS Games Trillius. Seems like some really fun elves. I know you've been playing a lot of like warband style games lately. Not a lot of 40k. Whew! It's one segmented plate at a time. Saber126 says, I'm in the middle of creating objective markers that look like Necron sarcophagi. Nice. Been working on terrain for my home table. Terrain, by the way, is one of those things you can work on whether it's like feast, famine, whether you're working on a project or not. Like terrain is just one of those things that if you have a table at home, you can always work on more terrain. It's one of the things that I like doing. Whenever I'm not sure what to buy, if I have like some, money to spend in terms of hobby, if I'm not sure what to spend it on, I'll normally buy terrain. Because I feel like terrain is like an underappreciated part of hobbying, building terrain. Like it's what helps bring a lot of what we do to life, terrain. Especially with like the advent of 3D terrain and 3D prints and stuff, it's kind of made terrain more accessible than ever. And being able to collect it, paint it up to like your like table standard, it's great. And it's just something that no matter what the edition is, good terrain will always be a part of the table, right? Having like a really cool piece that you can kind of use is always going to be something fun. Been in a 40k rut. Yeah, Kevin, it's all good. Every once in a while we're all in little 40k ruts here and there. Nothing to be ashamed of. We've all been there, we've all done that. And we reach out, we play different games, we hang out with different people. Bam, 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 bam. Well, terrain is one of the products GW produces the least amount of. It's the most required for the game. It has the most amount of 3D party productions. Yeah, 100%. They don't exactly produce a lot of terrain. They have like a lot of modular kits where you can kind of build whatever terrain you sort of need out of the terrain that they have, right? Which makes it like a very creative thing. And they produce like one-off terrain pieces, like especially for like Age of Sigmar, for example, where the terrain is literally part of building your army sometimes. Like you have a terrain piece that is part of your army. And that can always lead to a very interesting game dynamic, I find. In my opinion. So I finished season 2 of Kingdom on Netflix. I really like that series. It's not like a crazy, like Game of Thrones style, like intense, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I like the political intrigue and the character development and everything. It's neat. Slightly bummed that Deathwatch is only getting 5 pages of Psychic Awakening stuff. Didn't even make the cover. White Dwarf means they're probably not getting any Phobos stuff. Well, you'd be surprised. Grey Knights didn't get any Phobos stuff. Right? I know Deathwatch have like Primaris stuff or whatever, but who knows? Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see them like get some pretty neat things. You just have to keep an open mind. And 5 pages is more than some armies got in their whole Psychic Awakening release. Like even within the Psychic Awakening book, like some armies didn't get 5 pages worth. I will reserve judgment until I see it. Then I will judge. I will judge away once I see it. So here I am. My goal here is just to make sure that I hit all the edges of like the segmented plates and the armor, and I'm taking my time. This is the part where you don't have to rush it because it's the lowest highlight. If you do get a couple of the lines are a little thicker than you want or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Whew. I think the big fuss that Psychic Awakening books were advertised to be something for every army, that they'd be an old book. So the fact that we are not getting that irks me, since it's going to be against the original plan. Well, the original plan was for all armies to get rules during this Psychic Awakening. I don't think they specifically said that every army was going to get a book. They just said that the goal was to have every army getting some rules during this time. And that's exactly what they've done. Whether it's in White Dwarf or whether it's in, electronic e-release only or, whatever. Mail order, which would be hilarious. Order your Psychic Awakening rules today. Send a check for $25. Hello, agents of Vect. The new Drahzar is definitely very sexy. Gatabanzo Bean Donuts said Tyranids didn't get a ton, did they? Yeah, they only got like 4 or 5 pages. I mean, think of it this way, Skari. If the Drukhari would have received a quarter of the information you were given, no box set, usually a low quality release, then every other force would be happy. Well, Dark Eldar didn't get like a crazy amount of, say, rules. Yeah, they got some new models, but their rules are not like game changing. I think the Eldar got a better cut of it than the Dark Eldar. I'm just happy that we got new stuff. You're talking to a chronic optimist here when it comes to the game. Like, it's very hard to bum me out about the game. I am a total fanboy. A total fanboy. Saber says, I'm doing my best to keep my enthusiasm even keeled for Custodes and Necrons. I'm very excited to see what they do with Fabius Bile. He's one of the coolest characters in 40k lore. And by coolest, I mean just nefariously cruel and mean. Considering he was a guest of the Drukhari for a while, which kind of, he was already cuckoo to begin with. That kind of just probably tipped him over the edge a little bit more than he did normally. So I'm curious. I like it when they expand on the lore, and that just seems like a great opportunity to advance the lore when it comes to that character specifically, which is nice. Oof. There we go. Oh man, it's crazy how just a little bit of, you know, work on, you know, armor panels and stuff, even with just like the first highlight, really breaks up the model when you start, because, you know, black is black, you know, and it just kind of soaks up all the light. If you like break up the model with some of those highlights, it just really pops the whole thing. Saber says, if they do Talons of the Emperor right, combine Sisters of Silence and Custodies, I'll be ecstatic. Lots of opportunity. Yes, Sisters of Silence are another one of those things where they could totally get a bunch of rules and apply them. Hey, no problem, TV Robbie. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. See you in a bit if you can make it back. Mole Security says, Deathwings? No, Deathwatch and Space Wolves have the same problem. All that cool stuff is in old Marine stuff. They did nothing to adapt the primary stuff to match them. If they add more add-on kits, just to create more variety. Yeah, so you basically just, it's all about paint jobs rather than, but that's, remember, in 3rd edition, if you had a Marine army, it was literally green Marines, blue Marines, red Marines. There weren't really any, they were like limited conversion potential kits for stuff, right? So it's just a matter of time. And, you know, it's funny, I was listening to Reese talk about it. And yeah, companies, they probably have everything set up. They just take their time releasing things because that's, you know, business. They're not going to release it all at once. They're going to take their time. They're going to release it a little bit at a time. Dark Eldar began to lose their competitive strength, but GW gave us many tools to play narrative and fun games. Well, you know, Dark Eldar can be competitive, but they're a very unforgiving army to play, right? So you sort of have to, especially if you're doing mono Dark Eldar. Like, Eldari as a faction, still super strong. So if you mix and match, like, from all the different types of Eldar to kind of make a beat stick list that has, you know, beat stick list or army that has Vect in it and has shooting in it and mobility and, you know, shenanigans and whatever. And it's a very strong army. But yes, it alone, like, I do feel like playing, it is definitely a lot harder to play with my Dark Eldar than it used to be. Thing about gluing something together before you paint it can get rather awkward to paint some of the details. At the same time, if it's a hidden detail, you can kind of paint it if you want. No, I'm getting burned out on the perpetual releases of just Marines, more flavors of Marines. I agree with you, Kyle. I think that, you know, but that's one of the easiest things that, like, as a company that sells, right? Here's your new version of Marines. And they're like, ooh, sexy, you know, and it kind of just takes a life of its own. So I can see it being just very easy from a marketing perspective, being like, hey, how do we keep people engaged? Release another Marine. And they're like, yes, let's do it. Let's do that. And you're like, oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. How are we going to keep up with all this crazy? Well, I guess they've thought about that, and they're like, you know what? Just make it so that people just want to buy our stuff over and over and over. Whew. Little tiny bits. Lunatar start. Oh yeah, Drahzar? Sexy. Yeah, their release schedule, like GW's release schedule, is be like It's like before you finish digesting the first thing, they're on to the next thing, then they're on to the next thing, and they're on to the next thing. So I stopped trying to keep up, like on a personal level. I just stopped trying to keep up. And I feel that has really helped me personally stay sane, because it's very easy to get lost in just how much stuff they've released over time. At least that was the plan. Then I started doing coaching and, doing a lot more like competitive play. So I still have to I have to be more involved with the releases than I would really like to, because I would like to just relax and enjoy the game a lot of the times. But sometimes I'm like, I need to know what the next biggest, bestest thing is, because that's going to influence, what I teach, or, things like that. So it's important for me to know that stuff. Just in terms of different games they're producing. Oh yeah, but they've also been like about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, they started getting really crazy and liberal with their IP, sending it to like everybody. So you started seeing a lot more in terms of oh no. A lot more like video games and little mobile games and stuff like that. And I feel like that's sort of been a trend that we've seen lately, where GW is just trying to get their IP into the public eye. We've had Funko Pops and all this other crazy pop culture stuff that has come out. It's not as grim dark as you're used to when it comes to 40K, right? Like 40K is supposed to be grim and dark and evil, and you don't survive very long being in the grim dark 40th millennium. Where your life expectancy is is very, very, very low, depending on where in the universe you are and what faction you are a part of or whatever. Ooh, I will say, highlighting a model like this to make it look really cool is one of my favorite parts of painting. It requires so much just zen. You sit back, you relax, you just get it done, and then you can look at it, and it's very subtle, but you can just see the detail in the model. And a lot of the times that's good enough to play. Like if you just want to play with that, you can put that on the table and play with it, and it looks excellent, And then you can kind of go deep down that rabbit hole of hobbying. But let me know what your stories are with painting. Do you usually just paint to get things ready and on the table, or do you take the time to really explore what could be with the paint job that you do? What sort of painter are you? I slowly have become a more active painter when it comes to my models. And by active, I mean I've been actively trying to finish them, and not just go, that's good enough, but physically trying to get them to a point where I am more pleased with the results. These highlights give the models depth, Just dropped by to say hi. Hey, Primaris Powerhouse. Thank you, buddy. No problem. See you in a bit. So there is something that I wanted to bring up with everybody on chat, because I know you guys and girls and everybody come down and sit down, relax, and paint and kind of hobby with me. However, having my son, my trueborn, at the house every single day is proving to be, you know, definitely a lot more work than just, you know, doing stuff. And there's only so much that I can do keeping him entertained while I'm on stream. So I might have to change my streaming schedule, because I'm probably going to have to invest more time, and by probably I'm going to have to invest more time in making sure that my son is doing his schoolwork and whatnot, getting him to a routine during school hours. Which means that I would essentially start painting when my wife's home, which means that it would probably not, I probably wouldn't be able to stream until later in the evening. So, as a, you know, time frame, if I were to stream, well, I'm basically just letting you guys know, like, I'm probably going to start streaming the Isolation Station at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. So I hope most of you can still make it. Maybe it'll be a better time. Maybe, you know, it'll work out. But this is a change that I'm going to have to do out of necessity. Zydic says, just finished assembling my Drahzar. He's a gorgeous mini. I am loving my Drahzar. I'm what Uncle Atom terms a hobby hero. Nice. Games Workshop rolling up to people who don't know about the hobby, like, hey kid, want to buy some Space Marines? Yeah, that's... Well, you know, when you think about it, Space Marines are the perfect start for a hobby. You know what I mean? Like, for a hobbyist. They're literally designed to be the perfect beginner army. Like, when you truly, in honesty, sit back and think about it. Oh, man. Ooh. But whenever Space Marines are on the menu, you know, definitely, like, as a new hobbyist, I'm so happy that I started with Space Marines, because it was really, you know, if you made mistakes and whatnot, like, it was a lot easier to sort of to be able to learn from your mistakes when you had, like, decent armor to fall back on and some decent rules and good characters and stuff. So it was a forgiving army to start playing with, which kept you in the hobby longer and kept you motivated. Plus, they had some really cool lore. You know, you've got, you know, they're like superhuman soldiers that go around and destroy things. So, what is not to like from, you know, a storyboard sort of like situation with that, right? As a kid, or as a hobbyist that's new into the hobby, like, you're literally telling me these are superhuman warriors that will literally murder things. Like, that's pretty badass. I started with Space Marines way back in 3rd, before I realized there was a faction of evil space pirate vampires. True. Actually, one of my favorite catalyst at things that basically got me involved in starting Dark Eldar was a battle report that they did on the old Games Workshop website. I'm pretty sure I could find it in the archives. It was an old GW battle report with, it was like a witch cult Dark Eldar army facing off against, I think it was Necrons. See, at the time, one of my friends, like, when that was released, one of my friends, good friends, just played Necrons, like, all the time. This was like a perfect sort of start into my obsession with the Drukhari and the Dark Kin. Quite literally. Let me see if I can find it, actually, and I'll put the link up. Because that would be super fun to see if I can find it on the archives. Old GW website. Archive. Old Games Workshop website archive. The web archive for GW. Oh man, so many fun times. Then we go to Dark Eldar. Get your Dark Eldar finished on the table. Sample army, getting started painted, army overview. Now this is White Dwarf Comoraz Elite. Some good old school stuff in here. There's also the painting Dark Eldar, the Torture's Tale, all this stuff. Hey Robo, what's going on? Now this is a newer version of the old. Nope. I want the old one. They're like, there's a whole bunch of them. Oh, there's also the old Eye of Terror website. Oh my goodness gracious. But this is Adobe Flash Player. Wah, wah, wah. Oh man, so funny. Anyway, yes, it's out there. Check it out. Sorry, I went on a crazy tangent. Yes, we are painting Drahzar. It's okay if this old man... Painting a Ravager Robocop, that's cool. It's okay if I go on a tangent. I am an old senile man. And I need to go on a tangent every once in a while, kids. Let me go on a tangent, you crazy kids. Ooh. Oh man, I guess like little details, like trying to highlight little details and stuff around there can be super interesting. Lord Marshall TV, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. I'm excited to go online tonight and play some games. It's going to be a good time. Oh shoot, I forgot to say a color that I've used. I used Balthazar Gold for the little trophies that he did here. Painting a Ravager is like painting a whole squad plus a vehicle. Yes, 100%. You have to paint all the crew. You have to paint the tank. Yeah, it's like Dark Eldar are not exactly the easiest army to hobby because you have to really commit to hobbying them when you do. Like every model is like so intense in terms of detail. So not only is it a very intense army to learn how to play with on the table, because it's not a forgiving army to learn how to play, it's also a really crazy army to learn how to paint. You know, can be nuts. Thank you. I appreciate you like what you see. But I've been really enjoying playing with my Drahzar, like in my actual competitive list. He's fun. He's really fun. He's not the killiest of all characters, but he is a pretty good beatstick. I've seen him do crazy work. So I'm always on the lookout for times to help Drahzar shine. Woo! I'll make sure that I got all the little angles on that blade, eh? Valerie Morrison asks, how big is your pile of shame, unpainted models, and do you think you will get it painted during the shutdown? Well, to be honest, I keep a very small pile of shame. Right now, on my pile of shame, I have 2 Venoms. Well, they're built and ready to be primed and then painted. 5 Kabalite Warriors, which is what I all did last week, was like my project. I converted, or I built Drahzar and Incubi, and I converted 5 Kabalites and 2 Venoms to kind of build like this cool little patrol that I can use. I've got 4 Assault Centurions that I need to get painted. I have 10 Black Templar Intercessors that I converted up, as well as a Black Templar Repulsor. Noise Marine. Well, actually, I have a decent amount. I should probably take a picture of my pile of shame and post it on like Instagram or something. Maybe inspire some folks to. Okay, so this is actually, that's cool, because I could probably do that in maybe the Wraithbone color. I'm going to break up the monotony of the Wraithbone color. Or should I do it in the... No, I don't want to do it in the white color. I don't want to do it in something that's too overbearing. Maybe I should just do it in the XV88. I'm feeling inspired right now. I think I'm just going to do it in XV88. I'd like to see these the Black Templar, Dark Templar. Did I say Dark Templars? I meant Black Templars. Miklos Pal Martin Molnar, chilling to the stream while replaying the Me trilogy, now heavily modded, while waiting for my new minis to arrive. Nice. Right now, by the way, one of the sponsors of the channel, the Hooded Goblin, is doing like a special Easter weekend sale. They'll actually ship stuff to you if you want to check out the Hooded Goblin. The link's down below, as well as Tista Minis. They all have like crazy amount of stock. So, and they ship out. So if you want to get some stuff during lockdown, it's a great way to start and get a cool discount while you are at it. And then after this, Alfarius will be going live, I believe. Or he might not be. I'm not sure what his plan is. Hopefully he is going live after me. So I love when Alfarius and I piggyback off each other's stream. Just made it to affiliate, which is amazing. It's not easy to do. Whoo! Andreas Brosch says, you said last video you don't like to use too many colors on a mini. When you use separate detachment types like one Cabal, one Coven, you still have to try to align the colors. All my Dark Elder are painted the exact same way. So, the only way that I do it is I make sure that when I'm building like a detachment, I just keep all the units in that detachment the same, so there's no interlocking in it. So if I'm using Venoms, all the Venoms will be from the same detachment. All the, Void Raven Bombers will be from the same detachment. All the Kabalites will be from the same detachment, just to keep it simple, especially at a tournament. So then, you can go, there's no need to, like, counter paint anything. It's just the different model selections are literally part of different armies. So that's kind of how I handle it. But you know, some people might do it a little differently. And that's fine. Black Templars, yes. Midwinter's minis posted a pile of shame. There was over 500 models. That makes sense. Yeah, I can show you guys my Black Templar ancestors. You can probably go to like the archives on the Twitch page and see me building them. Hey, Sky Serpent official, how's it going? I'm glad you tuned in as well to come say hi. Wonder what the 40k meta will actually be once events start happening again. To be honest, who the heck knows? Who knows? We shall see. I'm very curious to see how the meta sort of like adjusts and adapts. You know, however, I feel like, you know, people who continue to like evolve and find ideas and test things on like Tabletop Simulator and whatnot and find some really cool, like you could play with your friends or play with other people from around the world. And I feel there will be like a core of people who took the development of the game seriously during this isolation period. And they'll be the ones that kind of come out the other end with a head start of the meta. You know, yes, the meta is sort of like frozen in time almost in that sense, where, you know, it's hard to sort of like pinpoint exactly what's going to happen or whatever. But you know, there's going to be movement. It's not going to be completely frozen, and the people who took advantage of this time to plan and think and innovate are really going to be people who sort of like come out of the woodwork, and they're going to have a plan. My pile of shame is ridiculous, says the War Mistress. We all have our piles of shame. That is very true. You know, and we all kind of deal with it differently. Something that I normally do is, you know, I run a few events every year, Barry Bash and other events like that. And whenever my pile of shame gets too big, like most of the stuff that I have on hand just gets turned into prizes because, you know, I don't really aim to make a profit off of events that I run. So, which just means that a lot of it just ends up in other people's hands because I'm never going to get to it. So I have no problems kind of like getting rid of stuff that's not really getting worked on. I won't sit around in my shelves for too long. That's for sure. How I love XV88, one of my favorite colors. My pile of shame is 14 melee Plague Marines, says Reek the Forgotten, 2 Bloodrons, 2 other Death Guard characters, a regular Chaos Termes, and my Black Legion Smash Lord. Nice. I find that if your pile of shame is stuff that you are actually actively working on to try and, you know, like get ready to tabletop standard or whatever, that's not a bad pile of shame at all. I'm never going to be like a hoarder that's like just hoards models for no reason. You know, and if I need to buy something for an army or whatnot, like, I'm going to buy it like when that happens, you know. Cool, so I just wanted to make the little power cells kind of stand out on the model. That's why I made them a different color to kind of help distinguish those little power cells. Oh, man. Valerie says, I've always considered model size and shape to be part of the stat line, especially Dark Eldar Venom is easy to hide. What do you think about model shape and size, base size impact of the game? Very important. I think the way that they're designed is an important part of, you know, the aspect. Like, yeah, I think when they build or they make a model, it's definitely the fact that the model itself is so big or so small. I think that's an important part of the model itself. And it's important to sort of note that, I think. However, when you look at it, I think, you know, they do the model first and foremost to be cool looking. Then, secondly, they kind of do it for game purposes. So Drahzar, for example, being on this ginormous base, right? Like he's standing way taller than he normally should be. It's a very imposing looking model, but like you need to put him like literally behind a full wall, you know what I mean? So that he doesn't get sniped to death. So it's got its pros and cons, I feel. Like with a Venom, for example, something that I wish GW would do is say for like a competitive play, you know, kind of, because it is true line of sight, it makes a difference. If the line of sight was abstract, like in 4th edition, where a vehicle was size 3 and then an infantry model was size 1, right? So you could hide infantry behind vehicles and you could hide, you know, infantry behind a hill that was size 1, so you couldn't shoot stuff, you know, that was the same size. So it was very abstract in that sense. I think that was a very important way of doing it. I feel that in that would be better for competitive play, even though it's not as like cinematic. But if you're playing a competitive game, you know, and you're looking at sizes of models and true line of sight and stuff, it's like, okay, so what about the gunner rider on my Venoms? Like, I don't put the gunners on my Venoms, like those old gunner dudes, because they break all the time. They break and stuff. However, it adds, you know, a good quarter of an inch to the size of the model. Is that super important for competitive play? Some people might say yes. I converted mine so the cannon's on the bottom and the twin rifle's on the top, and there's no gunner. You know, but that's literally so that they'd stop breaking. However, some people could argue, oh, well, it's smaller than normal, right? Garbanzo Bean Donut says his pile of shame is enormous. So that happens. You know, no shame in that. No shame in that, or yes shame, because it is technically the pile of shame, and we've literally been talking about that this whole time. The Warmer says, it's all stuff I intend to paint except for my Horus Heresy stuff. You don't intend to paint Horus Heresy? Is that just like a... Is that just something you've decided not to do because you've decided not to do it, or... So, the leather. What color should I do it? I've heard putting red in the Reese's helps. So I might actually put like a dark red in the Reese's of like the leather to kind of help it stand out. I've heard that's a useful trick. But I've never actually applied it, so I'm thinking of applying it for this thing. I've always considered model, I still have many Cavalry with Dark Lances, but none with blasters. The current approach Nate's goes more mobile with blasters and Venoms. And the idea to convert them to blasters, maybe? Well, it depends on, do you have old Cabalite warriors or just new Cabalite warriors? If you got old Cabalite warriors, nobody knows the difference, so you could just call them blasters if you wanted to. Like, truthfully. If you're running with new Cabalite warriors, there's tons of blast pistols, so you could literally just grab the blast pistol and cut off the shaft and literally make it like a bubble blaster. A bubble blaster. Which would be super fun to see. So during a project like this, it can be easy to sort of get flustered, or especially when you're getting into the detail work, and and it looks like the end is so far away. So we have a very simple solution, folks. Anybody who's been following my channel would know the answer to this question. So I hope that by following the channel and by being a part of the phenomenon that is hobbying, that you as well can learn how to appreciate the one solution that helps us all every single day. That solution, hashtag just put paint on it. That's right, just put paint on it. Yeah, they're really old, the long ones. That's right, RoboCop. You're getting the hang of this. Hashtag just put paint on it. That is literally the solution to all your problems. So thank you for understanding where we come from and what our goals are. Oh no. Subtle. SkaredCast, what do you think of Raging Heroes minis? Well, they've sent me a few to give away, and I've given them away and reviewed them. The sculpts, I don't mind the sculpts. They're some of them are very they're not for everybody. I wouldn't consider them like family friendly sculpts. However, they're to kind of give a lot of aesthetic to an army that you're building, a different aesthetic to an army that you're building. If that's like your thing. I do like the fact that they have a range of female miniatures. Regardless of how idealized they are or whatever, which is fine. Creative license being creative license. I think that they offer a lot of like options if you want to have some really cool miniatures. I feel like I didn't put enough paint on there. It's not enough. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, you can't really see some of the times when I move this. I'm still trying to figure out like a good camera angle for this sort of stuff. And I have to get myself a better light. I did try to get myself a better light so you can kind of see what I'm working on. Fucking hell. Andreas Brucks, no problem at all. Hope you've been enjoying the little tips so far that we've been giving out. Mulsecure said they just posted the Deathwatch preview. They are indeed getting combat doctrines, litanies, and all the new strats from the Space Marine book. Nothing should be very strong. Yeah, just adding. It's crazy how just adding those strats and litanies and stuff makes an army crazy strong. You know what I mean? And it's nuts because Deathwatch are not like a bad army. They're just different. You know what I mean? Whew. Okay. Okay. Whew. But that's cool. I love the fact that they're getting doctrines because that makes sense considering they are Marines. So you want to give them doctrines for them to kind of work with. Yeah, I know they have closed miniatures. Like Raging Heroes has a good range of really cool female miniatures, you know. I was trying to be as politically correct there because I know some people can get very sensitive about subject matter like that. And I feel like people, like, as long as you're like not a dick, you know, you can collect an army that looks however you want. Like literally, there's a Space Marine. You can probably Google it. There's a Space Marine army where the jetpacks were all like giant dicks, you know, big dick jetpacks, balls and a shaft, and that was their jetpacks. And I think they were Slanesh Jump Marines, which, you know, was crude and on the nose, but it was hilarious at the same time. Thinking of adding Craftworld Outrider, 3 times MSU Wind Riders, dual Shuriken, and a Warlock Skyrunner with +2 move, -1 AP Shuriken to my Dark Eldar for cheap anti-screen. Is a +2 move like one of the custom things? Cheap anti-screen, just to like clear screens. Okay, makes sense. I think Craftworlds can be good, but if you're going to go with Craftworlds, I would personally dip into the Night Spinner, because Night Spinners are out of line of sight shooting, and if there's one thing I wish my Dark Eldar had sometimes was a way to like kill those damn scouts that are like sitting out of line of sight without having to sacrifice an entire bomber to do so. That's kind of like my thought process. So last night, I got my son to watch the Harry Potter book or whatever, or what's his face, Newt's book, and where to like of monsters and where to find them or whatever. So that was pretty cool. Because we've been on like a Harry Potter kick, so kind of watching a lot of the Harry Potter stuff at home with the fam. Cool. So it is about an hour into the stream. If you'd like to spend this time to take a picture of yourself, like a selfie works, and then post it on social media with the hashtag JustPuttingPaint on it, with a link to the video. You can do that now if you want, or if you didn't catch the live show, you can do it later, to get some more people involved with what we do here every single day, which I think would be really awesome. Ooh! True Eldar don't need craft worlds, says Jusa. Yeah. You know, Craft World Eldar, they have a lot of cool tools that you can use as a Drukhari player. So it's never like, depends what style of play you want to play. Like me, I'm playing, you know, Dark Eldar on hard mode, which means, you know, I don't rely on my Craft World cousins very often. You know, sometimes I'll do a fun list where I'll take, you know, mostly Inari stuff like the Incarn or Cat Lady, that sort of thing. But I rarely take any Eldari stuff. Whew. Bam, bam. Well, thank you to all the lurkers out there as well, without whom, there would be no lurkers. If you're just lurking at home watching, thank you very much for being a lurker and watching. It does not go unnoticed. Well, it does go like your name goes unnoticed because, you're not participating, and the lurker etiquette indicates that I'm not supposed to shout you out to not make you uncomfortable. However, thank you for lurking. I can see how doing like a centerpiece model could take forever. I will say, Dark Eldar do have a lot. Now remember, each one of these incubi has about as many panels as this guy does. Thank you, Lysombra. The Misery. Nice. T. Marion. Hooray! Hello, T. Marion. Thanks for this. Thanks for saying hello, folks. Appreciate it. You are all awesome. And you make my day go by better and faster every day. Well, we are, if anybody's just tuned in, thank you for tuning in. I am Skari, your grateful host. This is Just Put Paint on It, a segment that I do every single day, Eastern Standard Time. I will be changing my schedule come next week, where I will be doing the live streams in the evening, so 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which will be a change of pace for a lot of you folks, but hopefully we can find a way to get everybody continue to be involved with the show. That comes in lieu of the fact that I need to make sure that I am doing more stuff with my son during school hours to keep him on a regular schedule. So I will be being Professor Daddy, which will be cool because I've always wanted to be a teacher. Why not teach my own kids stuff? But he does have like school classes and stuff, so we'll be trying to kind of hold to those as well. But it'll give us a good opportunity to, do some cool science projects and experiments, and maybe go and, build some stuff out of recycling or whatever. We shall see. Whew. I've been inspired to assemble a Raider or Venom crew. Oh, nice. That's awesome. The Misery. Nice. Atus says, my Raider work in progress. I hate painting this shit. Yeah, that's right. That's how intense he was. Wow, that is a cool red. Wahoo! I really like that red. That is sexy. The blends on there are really good. Those fingers add a nice touch. No, keep it up, man. That looks great. Thanks for sharing. I love seeing people's work. As everybody does hobby at their own pace. Airbrush is your friend. Yeah, I don't have an airbrush. I wish I did sometimes. For blends, I'm not even good, but you're getting paint on it, and that is what matters. And the more you hashtag just put paint on it, the better you get at stuff. That's my inspirational quote. Hashtag just put paint on it. Whew! Now, should I put a glow inside of the runes? Or should I make the runes kind of like outside of them glow? Like, I feel like you know, being Drahzar, they would just be machines of killing. They wouldn't really be like anything super special. Do it. Do it. Get an airbrush or paint stuff weirdly. Woo. Every time I'm doing like a crazy detail, I hold my breath and I forget to breathe. It's easy. Fill it with very diluted white and then use hex with flame or some contrast paint. It'll look good. Nice. Very diluted white, then use hex with flame or contrast paint. Okay, I'll take your word on it. No, I will try that out. I will experiment and try it. Thank you for the kick in the butt to get it done. For you. All this inspiration brought to you by Paints. Thank you, Paints. Got the music, bam, 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 bam. Woo! Thing for you. Oh, I love it. Okay, I've done both arms, both weapons, all that, like the whole army, the whole armor of the body. Just need to do the helmet, the frilly things, and the two things on the back. Oh, this is where Morris Valerie says, I started in 7th, built in an Inead's net formation, nice, with Pan Eldar jet bike army, trying to make it work in 8th. My list has 2 times 6 Reavers. I like that idea. 4 Sky Weavers with Haywires, nice. 6 Scat Bikes. I like Windriders. I think Windriders can be very useful. You just have to use them. Like, they just die quick, so you need to just keep them safe until you need them. I like them with the Scatalasers still. I think they're good as Scatalasers because they just have lots of shots and they're normally not as like crazy as a like target, you know, so you can keep them at the back, screen the backfield, and have like decent range. Juza says, not sure. Depends on how you paint Drahzar. I want the attention to go to the miniature. I want the attention to go to the miniature, not to the base. I guess that makes sense. Maybe in the blades and the eyes. Looking good. Hey, thanks, Steven. How's it going? And hello, Juza. How are you? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I know that once I bring the color out on the helmet and the, you know, the gems and stuff, like it'll draw the attention more to the miniature itself. So, like the base itself is very bright, so it does bring like attention to the base, which is good. The model itself, you know, is part of it too. Like the -3 AP on 6s from shuriken cannons. Now, it's important to note that the AP, the bonus for AP on shuriken weapons is on a 6+ to wound, which a lot of the times wouldn't make a difference. However, in a world that has Grey Knights in it, Grey Knights have a -1 to wound power. And normally, a bunch of shuriken weapons with Doom or something would be an excellent way of getting rid of some tough things like paladins or whatever. But when they have -1 to be wounded on them, and your extra AP triggers on a 6+ to wound, means that it is affected by the -1 to wound. Which sadly means that you will not get the bonus AP against a unit that has a -1 to wound on it, which only really comes into play with the Grey Knights. But a lot of the times you kind of wish you had that extra AP when you're playing against those danged Grey Knights. So the more you know. That was a public service announcement from your friend Skari. 3 shots instead of 4, and 24 inches instead of 36, which I'm more talking about the range than anything. If you stay 36 inches away, a lot of the times people have less of an inclination to like just instantly start shooting you, unless they have a really good idea as to why they want to shoot you off the board. Because normally you should have stuff like the Harlequin jet bikes that are going to be a little bit more aggressive, right? So they'll kind of take up a lot more of the heat in that sense. Oh, 3 scat bikes it is then. There you go, Valerie. And that you can keep them kind of hidden back, shooting at long range, so they don't draw a lot of attention to them, and they can clear out screens just as effectively from long range. But Wind Riders have a move of 16. No, I can't really argue. I have absolutely no practical knowledge. That's true. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of reasons why the shuriken cans are better. They're assault instead of heavy, so you don't suffer the -1 to moving and shooting, right? So that's a big one. But a lot of the times, that extra range can really come in handy, and those extra shots can come in handy as well. But yes, practical knowledge is a very important part of playing the game specifically, because a lot of the times people make assumptions and whatnot, or they just make assumptions on, I don't know, math or, what their friend told them, or, what in their head seems to be really good or totally broken. But then when it comes to like practical application, it can have a pretty big disparity between what's possible in game or what's really going to be helpful in like the meta or whatever, to what you think is really good. I like to relate it to something my basketball coach used to basically do when we used to play basketball when I was in high school. We'd like learn how to dribble, and we'd like do dribbling tricks and stuff, and we'd be like, yeah, we're so fancy and whatnot, and we'd do crazy layups and stuff like that, like when we were you know, just showing off essentially. And they always get down to us and go, "That's really fancy. That's really great." It's like, can you do that on game day? You know, like don't freaking show off and pretend that you're all cool if that's not something that you can do during game time. That always kind of stuck with me. You know, like if you can, if like that's a really cool ability, that's a really cool plan, but will it survive game time? Will you, under pressure, you know, when things are on the line, be able to pull like those crazy shenanigans out of your butt? Because if you can, excellent. I'm going to magnetize my bikes anyway. Well, that's number one. I highly recommend you might magnetize your bikes anytime, anyway at all, just because of the fact that that's super important. So as you can see here, I'm just doing like one little section at a time because it's so easy to kind of get lost when you're doing something like this, where you'll like miss a panel or miss like a line on a panel. So I try and make sure to keep every panel under advisement. Wah, 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 wah. So I'll do like one panel at a time to make sure that I try and do all the lines on a specific panel. So if I do miss a part of a panel, well, it's to hopefully not miss a part of a panel, but if a panel has like no paint on it, I know that I need to go through that entire panel again. But it helps me just oh, so much work. Superior Shurikens, the cannon is 30, but it's point costly. Yeah, the scat bikes are definitely a little cheaper, you know, in terms of point value. If you're trying to keep the cost of the bike unit down, that's a good like, if you're doing like a pros and cons association, that's definitely a good for like thing to keep in mind. Is like, well, you get extra range, you know, but the point value is different, you know. Is it worth making them Samhan? Or are you staying with the Inari? Oh no, you have your own custom detachment, which is fine. You can always run them in the Vigilist detachment if you want, like, you know, them to be able to do silly things like, you know, move after they attack in close combat or something, which can be kind of crazy. I just changed gears here because it was getting pretty intense for me to paint all those little lines, so I decided to change gears and just go for something that's a little bit flatter and easy for me to do. Tank Commander is chomping at the bit. Nice. A work in progress by War Mistress on Instagram. Nice. He's like pointing. He's got the, I like it. Great use of colors. That, good day, Alfarius. What is going on, buddy? Can we expect you to do your daily paint stream to continue the amazingness that is Just Put Paint on It and the isolation station? You know, because if you are with Alfarius, you are Legion. Also, make sure you stay tuned for Mission 2 breakdown of the How to Play ITC Champions Missions series, which I have been releasing every Friday. dang it. Ooh. Oh, looking so good. Most definitely. Nice. Okay, that's good. So we will be rating Alferis' channel when it's done as well. It's exciting, so make sure you stay tuned for that as we move on to Alferis' channel for the second part of the daily stream, essentially. Make sure you check Alferis out. Alferis242 on Twitch. Alfarius. Because we are Alfarius and we are Legion. Cause I need you here with me. Ba-da-ba-down-boom-bow-now. Ba-da-bow-ba-bow. Okay, we're almost done. The first layer of highlights on Drahzar, and I'm feeling good about it. Cause it's gonna be pretty good when I feel like he's done. He's gonna be like, oh, it's gonna look great. It's gonna be all on the. It's gonna look fantastic when it's finished. Then we get to start working on the second layer of highlights. Oh my goodness gracious, what is this madness? Skari, you crazy, crazy dog, you. What are you doing? I am creating magic with my bare hands. Oh shit. Let's not make everything tumble. So we still have about a half hour left. So make sure you continue to stay tuned and ask any questions you have. But if you just put this on in the background to paint, thank you very much. And make sure you stay tuned to all the cool SkaredCast content. So I'm probably going to film a battle report. That is going to be me versus my evil alter ego. So I think it'll be fun. It'll be like a fun narrative-y game. But I want to know, what factions do you want me to play? Do you want me to play my Imperium versus my Dark Eldar? Or do you want me to play two competing cabals? You know, how would you like to see me play against myself? Which I think would be really fun, because I could totally represent two different people. Because that's how crazy I am. Should I make a poll about it and be like, which faction would you like me to play? Haha! Oh! Super. Competing cabal sounds fun. Nice, nice. Soothing background voice, says the Lady Lorian. Thank you, I appreciate it. I've been told I should probably read books Working on your Nemesis Knight, says Steven. Nice. Witch Cults versus Cabal, says Atus. Nice. Dark Brother with something scary. You should start with Drukhari versus Imperium, says Rook. Seems like there are like 50 different ways that I could do this. You know, so I'm looking forward to all your suggestions. Oh, shit. I totally forgot. Did not see that he had studs on the back of his head. That is something that I should probably do before I miss it again. But let me know what you think. Send me a message or a PM or whatever. Because I think it'd be really fun to play like a little There we go. Very simple solution to that problem. But I had to make sure that it got done, or else I would have totally forgotten later. Okay. Let's continue with the gray. And we're almost done here. Just making sure that I put the little final details on this. To do this, and then I have to do the helmet. But this is probably one of the hardest parts of the actual painting process, is just getting that first initial set of highlights down. Once it is all done, it'll look excellent. And we will have done a lot of work on this model today. 2 hours worth of work getting it all set and done and ready to rock and roll. You wouldn't even need to do much work other than like a wash maybe, or a glaze or something. If you really wanted to work on the model a little more, you could. I'm going to be doing a little bit more work on the model as it goes, so we'll be back next week on Monday to another isolation station. However, it will be a PM show because of my schedule change with my family. Whew. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay, folks. Alferis, if you want to get your stream started, we will be over rating you in a second. So thank you for coming by to say hi before you started your stream, however. And I hope you're getting ready to rock and roll. We will raid Alferis' channel once again, and we will make Hydra great again. All hail Hydra. Or I am Alfarius. No, it's different universe. Nice, Alfarius. Alfarius, nefarious Alfarius. But make sure you stick around and watch Alfarius on his Twitch channel. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, I will be quitting this, and that'll be the end of this video. But I did want to take a moment to thank all of you for watching. Without you watching, I would not have a platform that people would take seriously, because nobody would be watching. So I just want to say thank you. You guys and girls and everybody out there make this possible. So a huge shout out to all of you out there that do this every day with me. You put as much effort into it as me by consuming the content that I put out there. Secondly, a huge shout out to all the channel Patreons, all the Twitch subscribers, and everybody who supports what I do financially so that I can continue doing it. Especially during these crazy times that we're having right now, where people are, uncertain, and, things are nuts. There's no point in sugarcoating, like the fact that it's definitely, the world is going to see some repercussions over the next little bit. And I just want to say thank you for being there with me throughout this whole thing, helping me pass the time and keeping me sane. Thank you. I cannot stress that enough. Holiday now. There we go. Ooh. Holy moly, folks. This is pretty crazy because it's awesome. Cannot wait. If you had to move to Europe, which country would that be and why? To Europe, I'd probably go to Spain, because that's where most of my family is on my dad's side. So I'd have I've got like roots in Spain. I have roots in England as well, but I feel like Spain, it would just like call to me a lot more. I like Mediterranean culture, southern Spain. Just doing these little last bits on his helmet. Top of his helmet, bottom of his helmet. And it's funny because this is just something that you want to do on all the dark bits, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to go, we're basically going over this a second time with like a lighter color to really kind of make it all pop on a thinner coats. But this gives us a nice breakdown of the color and sort of defines the details. There we go. Drahzar, the Master of Blades. First highlight completed on the model. I hope you guys like to see kind of what Drahzar has become. I hope you can see the detail that we kind of worked on. For the U versus Alt Eager, Eldar versus Dark Eldar. Lover scorned. That makes sense. Hey, Prankster, what's going on? Leylorian, if we are in question time, what is a game, miniature or otherwise, that you have had your eye on but haven't had a time resource to start playing yet? A game or miniature or otherwise? Bolt action. I really enjoy that like Second World War stuff, and I think bolt action is just like a really fun sort of like just scene to kind of get done, or like it's just a good scenario in that sense. I really enjoy that part of it, right? Okay, folks, that is it. That's Drahzar. We used just to confirm, you can see all the colors that we did at the beginning of the video. You can kind of check that out or whatever. Oh, trying to make sure that you can kind of see it front and center here. There we go. And then just kind of twist them around. So the first highlight is done. All the main colors are blocked in. You could literally just use this on the table as is if you wanted to. You don't have to go further than this if you don't want to. However, we are, because we're going to be putting some extra work and highlights on this guy to make him really kind of stand out and pop. So I hope you guys and girls enjoyed hanging out with me here on Just Put Paint on It. Isolation Station, day number 26. So let's go and raid Alfarius' channel, because that is what we are going to do. Alfarius, be ready to get raided, and I expect all of you to go on this raid. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go raid, every single one of you. Raiding time. Okay, folks, thanks a lot for tuning in. I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. Bye, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. See you on Monday. Well, that's the end of the stream, you know. Yeah, one day after another, we make things happen. Thanks a lot to everybody who tuned in. I love you all. Bye, everybody.